Fort Sherman, at the same time the canal was being constructed, a number of defensive locations were developed to protect it, both with coastal defense guns as well as military bases to defend against the direct infantry assault. Fort Sherman was the primary Caribbean side infantry base. Construction of Sherman began in January of 1912 as part of the 1910 defensive plans. The fort included 23,100 acres of land, about half of which was covered by jungle. The developed areas, mainly on Toro Point, included housing, barracks, small airstrip, and various recreational areas, as well as coastal defense batteries, which were located down on the Caribbean coastline. Fort Sherman was always the most isolated of the military posts in the Canal Zone. It is bordered on one side by the Caribbean, on another side by Limon Bay. It has Chagres River run through it, and once the Gatun Locks and Approach and Gatun Lake were constructed, it was cut off. In the early days, the children were loaded on boats and taken over to Cristobal to attend school. At the end of the school day, they would get back on the boat and come over across to Fort Sherman and home. Reportedly, Fort Sherman was used for testing and disposal of chemical and biological agents. Fort Sherman was turned over to the Republic of Panama in 1999. The first area we'll look at is Fort Sherman Enlisted Housing Area. This is what was reported by Eric DeZekin. He noticed that there were a number of suspicious looking barrels that were being used as a barricade. And the enlisted housing area, as you can see here, had and still has jungle on one side and the shoreline with Limon Bay over here. And if you pull out a little bit, you can see S2 Road that comes in here. The gate is located in this area. We have a number of photos here that I will show you. First is the 1969 view, and as I mentioned, it's a lower resolution and therefore you don't get as much detail, but the area we're talking about is right here. And this is Limon Bay and the breakwaters with the opening for the canal shipping. And this is a fragment of a Canal Zone map. And once again, over here are the barracks that we're talking about. And next is a photo of one of the barrels that Eric took on March 1st, 2020. And these barrels were lined up in front of the old enlisted quarters. And they had like a steel cable that was attached running down there. And you can see there's a number of them right here in a row. I did go back and I looked on YouTube and I looked for some videos that people had taken driving through Fort Sherman. In other words, they had like a camera mounted in the dash of the car and so forth, and recorded what they saw. And I saw one that was from 2014, and it came down the street here. And at that time, there were no barrels. I was down there in February of 2020, shortly before Eric, and I noticed the barrels at that time. So they were installed sometime between 2014 and February of 2020. And due to the remoteness of Fort Sherman, it's probable that these barrels were found either buried somewhere on Fort Sherman or in one of the old batteries somewhere. They are quite rusted, as you can see. Again, here is a picture of these barrels on the line, and my Spanish is not great, but this sign is saying something to the effect that no entry, and this is the property of the state. There's a close-up of one of the barrels, quite rusted. It does have an orange band on it, and each one of them has a green data area. This is a view taken in either the late 60s, early 70s by Edwin Armbruster. This is the housing area, and as I said earlier, there's jungle on one side and the shore of Lehman Bay on the other. Edwin Armbruster of the housing area. The next area is along the old airstrip at Fort Sherman, and that would be this right here. Excuse me, if I pull out, you can see the old airstrip and taxiways and so forth, and this is located right in here. Now, in addition to Eric spotting another barrel here, there's also a TTC Tropical Test Center map that was we were able to find, and on that shows that this vicinity was used for open field testing for material exposure. And again, I have a number of photos I can show. Again, the 1969 map, we're now looking here. The fragment of the Canal Zone map, and we're looking over here. This is the TTC map, and we're talking about item number 21, which is the materials exposure site open field. This is Eric's photo. Again, you can see the rusted barrel with the orange band and the green data area. On the other side of this grass is the old airstrip, and in the background are barracks that are currently being used by Panama. Another photo by Edwin Armbruster, same time period, late 60s, early 70s. Here are the barracks lined up. Here is the airstrip, and that barrel picture is from over here. And as you can see at that time, this area has been kept pretty clean and open. There's the enlisted housing area we looked at last time. Another photo by Edwin in the same period. And the barracks, this is Shelter Bay. And here's your runway, and the photo was over here. Again, you can see this area has been kept pretty clean. Next area we're going to look at, I added based on the TTC Tropical Test Center map that I found, and the way I was able to locate it was based on distance from S2 Road. S2 Road comes in from Gatun Locks, runs along here, and runs up to Fort Sherman. And their map shows access through it was probably a 2-lane rutted road that came down through here. And this here is Limon Point. And here is that 1969 view. And again, this is where we're looking, and you can see S2 Road. Here's Limon Point, and this was classified as Tropical Test Center as a dense jungle site. and there it would be on there. You can see the little access road coming in from S2, and there's Limon Point. Okay, we have another area that I added based on the TTC map, and this one was classified as a materials exposure site modified jungle. And if I pull back some, you can see that where we're located is, here's the main part of Fort Sherman, the barracks we talked about, the enlisted housing, the airstrip. And if you've ever been to Fort Sherman, you know that there is a gravel road that called S8 Road that comes off of the main part of the base and runs down here and past some of the old batteries and eventually gets to Fort San Lorenzo. And this right here is Devil's Beach. Devil's Beach had a little rutted road that came out to S8 Road. So we're talking A28 here. And that's located right here on our 1969 view. There's Devil's Beach. You can faintly see S8 Road coming down here. And so here we are, we're number 20, the modified jungle testing site. Next location is one of the old coastal artillery positions that was first known as Chagres 1, but then known as Battery Pratt. And it was converted from a coastal gun battery to an executive evacuation point. And it also had comms links in here that connected the canal zone with CONUS and other comms links. And if I back out, you can see it's kept pretty clear, but it's surrounded by dense jungle. The way these batteries worked, the gun positions were back here, but they would have observers out here which would direct the guns and so forth. And they were able to get back and forth. They had either walkways or whatever. In the case of Battery Pratt, I know what they had was an underground tunnel that ran out of here that allowed them to get back and forth. The 1969 view, it's A22. You can see that it shows clear. You can see S8 Road coming down here, and just off the map here is Fort San Lorenzo. And this is actually a picture at the Battery Pratt observation post, and this was taken sometime in the 1920s. And you can, faintly see, they went down here to get into the tunnel to get back to the battery that's in the background. This is a photo from 1973, and this shows one of the entries into the battery. And as you can see, the tops and around were kept clear of vegetation. Now, I mentioned S2 Road earlier that runs from Gatun Locks out to Fort Sherman. It was a 2-lane paved road, and it had shoulders on the side. They were clear, and they were big enough that you could pull a car off and be totally off the road with a couple feet on the side of you. S2 Road, all the way out, ran through either jungle or mangrove swamps. And if I pull out a little bit, you can see what I'm talking about with the terrain. This is just lighter green as a result of exposure of the satellite view. Now, I picked this particular location because the road came down here and it made two pretty close to 90-degree turns, one here and one there. And this entire area here was open. There was no, it was swampy, but there was no tall vegetation at all, which meant that as you were coming here, you could be able to see traffic coming the other way and so forth, trying to avoid any kind of collision in the middle. 1969 view, you can see this is the point we're talking about. And again, that would be down just right off of this area in here.
I'd like to thank veteran Richard Wyman for putting together all of this information on possible places to test in the Panama Canal Zone. We are further than we have ever been before. We have a rulemaking request that's been granted by the VA Secretary. We have an HR 5026 bill for Panama introduced into the Congress.